Welcome to Patient Zero. I'm your host, Branch Isole. Patient Zero shares a focus on personal, career, and spiritual relationship growth and sustainability. The term Patient Zero generally describes a point of origin for any experience, event, or entity. From the moment of our creation, as a spirit of origination, each of us becomes the patient zero of our lifetime journey. On Patient Zero, you'll hear tips and takeaways for healthier daily interactions to achieve greater success at home and work. You'll also learn how prophecy can educate, entertain, and edify, with an awareness about prophetic events, people, and circumstances, to help you know and better prepare for God's purpose-filled plans. Have you ever thought, I'd like to find a little more peace and quiet in my life? Or I'd like to reduce the stress that's pulling at me all the time? Well, by design, the world forces us to focus on its ways, the ones we've been grappling with from first breath. And although we each have a spiritual essence, many know little or nothing about their spirituality, or how to go about making their spirit a small part of everyday life. Many of those who desire to know more don't want to be forced, coerced, tricked, or converted into following or believing something just because someone says so. Whether you have little or no religious background, or were once, or are now fallen away, many seek, search, or wonder, does spirituality have any value for them? This has been a universal question throughout history, and our contemporary life has no exclusivity on this query. You see, we are each spirit in our origination, and we each possess spiritual essence from our first breath to our last breath, and for some, beyond. Perhaps you've wondered about spirituality or its lack thereof in your life. You see, many seekers or searchers start on a path of spiritual exploration, desiring to know, is it possible to have a spiritual relationship without interference or influence from priest, pastor, pope, rabbi, or imam, or some other self-described, self-promoting leader? Religions and spiritual belief systems are purposed to guide and aid the spiritual traveler with paths of relief from the world's ways of stress, struggle, pressure, and conflict. Sadly, however, many religions continue to be entities using condemnation through words, teachings, or instructions that actually drive many away from God. 2,000 years ago, Jesus called out the hypocrisy of the Pharisees. In that very same way, we are witnessing firsthand Christianity's deceit-filled delusions today. In Matthew 24, Jesus was asked, "What will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" Meaning his second coming. Jesus answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah, and will deceive many." Now, this is a twofold warning for us. First, some will claim that they should be listened to and followed as if they were the Messiah. Second, many will claim that Jesus is the Messiah, but their words and actions will still be used to deceive. So Jesus goes on to say, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end will still come." You see, the turmoil and destruction of and by men is never ending and will continue right up to the very end. Jesus tells us, nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Now, as you're probably aware, in every pregnancy, when the birth pains start, there is an increasing discomfort, which gets stronger and more painful as the time of birth draws closer. Jesus is describing the world's end times as birth pains. This end time started in May 1948, when the Jews started returning to the new state of Israel, as prophesied in Ezekiel 37. And today we are witnessing the pains and exhaustion of our world getting worse literally every week. Jesus goes on and continues, "Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me." Now, he was speaking to his apostles about the Jewish community. But as we are seeing today, this is all coming to pass before our very eyes as the world collectively turns its back and scorns the state of Israel. And that hatred will soon be transferred to Christians. Jesus is warning, this hatred of the Jews will increase and become more widespread and violent. And we will see this hatred of Israel growing exponentially. We're beginning to see it every day in the media as the world's population rallies against Israel's current Gaza war situation. Jesus goes on to warn, at that time, meaning in our days, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. Many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Now, this behavior is becoming more common every day across the world as members of different groups turn against their fellow citizens. Jesus then says, because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. You see, every interconnected person on the planet now has access to the gospel of Jesus Christ, the good news. And yet, hatred is replacing tolerance at an unprecedented rate. Jesus goes on to warn, so when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. Now here, Jesus is referring to the takeover and installation of the Antichrist in the third temple, which will be rebuilt in Jerusalem. And this action of abomination of desolation, that is the Antichrist taking over the new Jewish third temple, will happen at mid-tribulation. When the Antichrist comes to power, referring to the rapture, Jesus says, let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on top of the roof, on top of the house, go down to take anything out of the house. Let no one in the field go back to their cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath. Now here Jesus is warning the remnant of Israel, those left in Israel, to flee immediately and allow nothing to delay their going. He says, from then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. Here he's describing the death and destruction of the Great Tribulation, or the last days, meaning the final 3.5 years of the 7 years of tribulation, and that these 3.5 years will be worse than anything experienced in all of human history. He finishes with, if those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. You see, if it was not for God's love, those last days would go on until every person on the planet was dead. Thanks for joining me today. On Patient Zero, we share key takeaways for growth-filled living. If you know someone who could benefit from today's episode, please share it with them. If today's show has been interesting for you, please give us a rating and review. And to know more about my work, I invite you to visit my website, branchisole.com. My Substack page, branchisole.substack.com, and my YouTube channel, Branch Isole. Substack subscribers also receive a thought for today every morning, 2 Spiritual Christianity prophecy alerts every week, and an open mic poem short story every Saturday, as well as access to archived Patient Zero episodes, informative series, and articles. Today's episode has been sponsored by Manao Publishing and my book, Turn of a Phrase. If you're interested in knowing more about spiritual growth, Turn of a Phrase is the book or ebook for you. And it's available at the website, branchisole.com, and through Amazon. At the website, you'll also find my other books, ebooks, and gift merchandise. Thanks for joining me today. Join me again next Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at branchisole.substack.com, when we discuss blissful ignorance. Until then, keep growing and be in the world, not of the world.